U.S. President Donald Trump has warned that a controversial investment pledge forming part of the EU-US trade deal will need to be honored by the EU, or 35% blanket tariffs will be applied to the bloc. According to Trump, the investment pledge was one of the reasons he had dropped tariffs to a blanket 15% rate. So, if it is unfulfilled, then higher tariffs will kick back in. Speaking on Tuesday after being quizzed on the deal, Trump touted the U.S. position, which a White House fact sheet stated the agreement to include a pledge for the EU to invest $600 billion in the U.S. by the end of Trump's second term. But the EU Commission is unable to design and implement investments on behalf of the private sector. Last month, Trump and EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen unveiled a preliminary trade deal featuring a 15% tariff on most imports from the EU. The deal also included commitments from Europe to purchase $750 billion worth of American energy, the details and modalities of which are yet to be unveiled. The southwestern Japanese city of Hiroshima on Wednesday marks the 80th anniversary of the U.S. atomic bombing of the city, with many aging survivors warning of the growing support of global leaders for nuclear weapons as a deterrent. A minute of silence was held while a peace bell rang at 8:15 a.m. local time, the time when a US B-29 aircraft dropped the bomb on the city. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, Hiroshima's mayor, and other officials laid flowers and wreaths at the cenotaph.
内閣総理大臣として原子爆弾の犠牲となられた方々の御霊に対し、故に謹んで哀悼の誠を捧げます。
With the number of survivors in rapid decline and their average age now exceeding 86, this is considered the last major milestone memorial event for many of them. The bombing of Hiroshima destroyed the city and killed 140,000 people. The U.S. dropped the Little Boy atomic warhead on the city on 6 August 1945. A slightly bigger bomb named the Fat Man was dropped just a few days later on Nagasaki, killing 70,000 people.
The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced that Washington is dramatically scaling back vaccine development. Kennedy shared that his department will cancel contracts and close nearly 24 projects totaling roughly $500 million. The decision is in regards to vaccine programs utilizing messenger ribonucleic acid technology, better known as mRNA. The U.S. health chief says this technology is ineffective at combating and providing sufficient immunity to infectious diseases like the flu and COVID-19. Kennedy says his department will instead focus its efforts on creating a safer, more effective alternative. He noted that mRNA vaccines collapse when viruses mutate, and instead more focus should be invested on whole virus vaccines and novel platforms. Infectious disease experts, however, say that the technology is safe, as reflected in its ability to dramatically slow the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. mRNAs are also now being experimented with for their potential in cancer treatment. Kennedy says other uses of the technology outside infectious diseases will not be affected. This is the latest in a string of decisions by the U.S. Health Secretary to crack down on immunization and advance his anti-vaccine agenda. In June, Kennedy removed the department's recommendation for COVID-19 shots and fired the panel responsible for vaccine recommendations. Doctors and experts in the field have called his decisions reckless, short-sighted, and dangerous.
Lebanon's government asked the National Army on Tuesday to prepare a plan to allow only state institutions to carry arms by the end of the year, effectively disarming the militant group Hezbollah. The move comes as Beirut is under international and U.S. pressure to disarm the group, which has been weakened after a nearly 14th-month war with Israel. Many of its political and military leaders are dead. Hezbollah's leader Naim Qassem has rejected calls to disarm and warned that Hezbollah would fight back should Israel resume military operations against it. The Iran-backed group have called for Israel to withdraw from the 5 hills it controls within Lebanon and pause almost daily airstrikes that have killed or wounded hundreds of people. Israel's military has said the 5 locations in Lebanon provide vantage points or are located across from communities in northern Israel, where about 60,000 Israelis were displaced during the war. Hezbollah maintains the deal only covers the area south of the waterway, while Israel and the US say it mandates disarmament of the group throughout Lebanon. Qasem has rejected a government vote over its weapons, saying such a decision should be made unanimously by all Lebanese people. The issue amongst the public, however, is divisive, with some groups calling for the group's disarmament.
Iran executed 2 men on separate cases on Wednesday, one accused of spying for Israel and the other of being a member of the Islamic State group. State-run media says the man identified as Rusbah Vadi was conclusively found to have been relaying classified information to Israel's intelligence service, the Mossad. Authorities said Vadi provided information to Israel about an Iranian nuclear scientist who was consequently targeted and killed in June during Israel's 12-day offensive. According to a report, Vadi met with the Israeli Mossad a total of 5 times in the Austrian capital, Vienna, where the information exchange was happening. The Islamic Republic has hanged 7 people so far on charges of espionage during the Israel-Iran war, sparking fears that a bigger wave of executions is imminent. A man identified as Mehdi Asgharzadeh was accused of being a member of the Islamic State group, commonly known as ISIS. The man reportedly participated in military training in Syria and Iraq, where ISIS still has strongholds, before illegally entering Iran with a 4-member team. State media says Asgharzadeh's team was killed in a firefight with Iranian security forces, and he was arrested and convicted of plotting sabotage. Tehran says the sentences were upheld by Iran's Supreme Court, and that legal procedures were followed before executing both men.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he would convene his security cabinet later this week to discuss how Israel's military would meet its goals in Gaza. Earlier, Netanyahu announced he wanted to fully occupy the Strip, including launching military operations in areas where remaining hostages were held. His statement followed the release of new videos of emancipated hostages held in Gaza and signifies a significant change in tone of the government. Netanyahu said the video had strengthened his resolve to topple Hamas, and the Israeli leader has seemingly sidelined a pursuit to reach a negotiated agreement instead. The footage of the hostages was released as humanitarian organizations and international experts continue to warn of a worst-case scenario of famine unfolding in the enclave. In the last few hours, health officials reported dozens of Palestinians had yet again been killed while seeking aid. Meanwhile, pallets of aid were parachuted over Gaza, as seen from Deir al-Bala on Tuesday. Several countries resorted to the airdrops in response to the lack of food and growing famine in the Strip, but the UN has warned for the dangers of parachute drops and says aid delivery by trucks is far more effective.
An 85-year-old man died from heat stroke in Spain on Monday as the country experiences another brutal summer heat wave. It follows one of the deadliest months for heat-related issues in Spain, with 1,060 deaths caused by high temperatures in July. That's a 57% increase from 1 year earlier and a 54.5% increase compared to July 2023. So far this year, over 3,200 deaths in Spain are attributable to high temperatures, far exceeding last year's total of around 2,500. 9 regions are currently under alert for extreme temperatures, which are expected to reach up to 42 degrees in some places. In Barcelona, Malaga, and Valencia, temperatures will remain at a notably lower level, ranging from 30 to 33 degrees. Spain's state meteorological agency expects the heat wave to last at least until next Sunday.
A zoo in Denmark has divided public opinion by asking pet owners for donations of small animals to feed its predators. Aalborg Zoo is asking specifically for guinea pigs, rabbits, chickens, and even horses as possible donations. It says it's trying to mimic the natural food chain of predators housed in the zoo for the sake of animal welfare. The practice, the zoo says, is nothing new.
Som en storm, fordi det er jo ikke, der er intet nyt i det. Vi har altid gjort det. Og vi ser det også meget naturligt at gøre det på den her måde. Og det er lige præcis fordi, at der er nogen, der har forvekslet vores mindre husdyr med ordet kæledyr. Altså, og kæledyr, det er jo ikke det, vi tager ind. Altså, det er jo sjældent, der kommer nogen med kæledyr. Og vi tager jo heller ikke hunde og katte ind, altså, som der er nogen, der tror.
The zoo's practice, however, has gained international media attention after it was publicized on a Facebook post. Some social media users called the appeal a sick invention. Others stood up for the practice, with one user saying they donated a horse a few years ago. The zoo says that the animals donated are gently euthanized before being used as fodder. This way, nothing goes to waste, it said in the post. In the Sea of Japan, rescue vessels belonging to the Russian and Chinese navies practice providing assistance to a submarine lying on the ground. The two countries begun joint naval drills, starting from the port of Vladivostok on Sunday, with the drills set to last 3 days. China's defense ministry said on Friday this year's exercise were aimed at further deepening the comprehensive strategic partnership of the two countries. China has never denounced Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, nor called for it to withdraw its troops. It has also refused to implement sanctions against Moscow, despite increasing international pressure.